Hello everyone, it's still May the 14th. This is the second part. In this video I go a bit in another direction. I look more at the smaller planets, how they interact, and what makes me so certain about what I said in the first video. So I kind of show you a little more of my hidden thoughts, because there's so many planets and therefore also so many thoughts. Anyway, so first of all I want to say the hexagram where the Sun and Earth are in right now, between roughly May 10 and May 16. That's hexagram 23, splitting apart. And on the other side, the Earth is in hexagram 43, breakthrough. It's interesting that they make a pair, splitting apart, which is a structure which is really caving in, falling down, and on the other side you have the polarity, which is breakthrough. So it's an extreme polarity in that sense, and probably the most intense in the Taurus Scorpio range, because, as the human design again illustrates it beautifully, these two gates form this powerful central channel in the collective human design. Each of us are experiencing the activation of this channel right now, which is an archetypal form of expression, and it is purely individual and is based on the understanding that each of us is their own leader, their own manifester. So these are very powerful individualized forms of expression. And we have this other one down here too, in that same central column, which is from the root up, which is Pluto and Jupiter, by the way. Take these positions, which is mutation. I can go back to an earlier recording where I spoke more in detail about that powerful energy, which has the potential of changing things instantly from one moment to the next. It's kind of when there's an evolutionary jump, an upgrade into something which has not yet been here before. And this is the genius, or the freak, as they call it, as the polarity. Definitely unusual new ideas are coming in, and not just come in, but they get expressed, they get materialized. That's the manifestation center, the fifth chakra. It is inside, coming from the third eye perspective of insight, of understanding, and then it's channeled and expressed in that very individual form. So 23, that's where the Sun is right now, and has been for the last 5 days. So we have had a build-up. Actually, not just the Sun is in this hexagram, also Uranus, and this is the big story behind it, because the Sun has just been the initiator of this much longer going period with this splitting apart energy. Things are coming apart, and yes, this is the breakthrough. How much more clear can it be said? The etching is just really amazing. Those of you who are new to it, please explore. It's been one of the laughs of my life. I discovered it in my late teens. There's many great translations. Doesn't really matter which one, but you can also find it on the web. Anyway, a little promotional sidekick here. Okay, now I want to look at the small planets and also at Mercury's degree, the 6th degree of Taurus. let's see what this holy book here says. These were images a medium was receiving, as they did. Actually, it was a fully randomized association. My puppy is dreaming. That's the strange noises you hear there in the background, so you're not wondering what's going on there behind. She's having a dream. Anyway, so the 6th degree of Taurus, cantilever bridge across a deep gorge, the conquest of separativeness through group cooperation. Nice, I would say, really nice. It is really, again, from another angle, and that's how you get confirmations. If there's different voices who are saying the same thing, then there must be something to it. I guess that's how I look at it, at least. That's why I also like to interlink charts and see how energies work together. Then, okay, conquer obstacles is the key note, the key word here of this degree. And naturally in Taurus it is real, it is hands-on, it is in the act, it is the substantiation part, really. Yes, and the second half of the zodiac, yes, that's the confirmation, and that's where the Sun and Uranus are in. Yeah, to finish another thought from my first recording. Okay, I mentioned Haumea. Haumea at 2932 Libra, 2938 Aries. So just hours prior to Mercury's ingress, Jupiter and Haumea had their opposition. That's kind of special too, that in this exact opposition, actually you get here again the Scorpio rising if you go down to the minute of when this happened. So more Scorpio energy here too, and Haumea in Scorpio. Haumea and Jupiter in house 6, beautiful. It's in the process of taking inventory and figuring out a plan to health, back to where we should be. Jupiter in that Virgo section in the last segment of Aries. Yes, very resourceful, knowing what button to press to get to the next stage, having done all the research, the insights, the experience. Aries is really experience based, very strongly. So anyway, this opposition in itself is great in timing. And then in this opposition chart, which really shows how these two work together as a team for the next whatever many years, as this is happens once every 14 years or so. Jupiter takes again whatever, or every 12 years, something like that. You get the idea. It's a initiation of the next stage of how they are expressing themselves. And if we now quickly look at the angles, then yes, with Mercury here at the pretty dead on exact, it is all about the sharing of what we know, what we see. It is that energy of not being not holding back anymore on that level, really being up front, out front. 7th, 6th house, definitely very vocal. There's no holding back, as I say, no you get it, it's again a word which I have on my tongue, miss it. Nevertheless, you know what I mean. No censoring, uncensored, completely uncensored. That's what it is. Yes, and at that same degree here, the 6th degree of Taurus, which we just read, was the bridge over the abyss, building the bond between the two polarized worlds. Really beautiful image for that degree, as this is the starting point where Mercury takes off. And anyway, so Mercury is T-squaring Varuna and Radamantis. It's actually part of the opposition of Radamantis for 57. You see, this is pretty exact. And up here is Varuna and Pallas. Now this is, I hear here, law and justice, righteousness, analyzation, very much that energy of Pallas, with the help of Solaris, which is always ready to look at things from a new angle. Varuna, the gold star of integrity. You get the picture where we're heading. It's really coming apart, the whole scam. And it is healthy, bringing healing, Hygeia in Aquarius, after all, now backed up by Pluto. Yes, only up to June 11, as you know, but we have to go through this last stage of Pluto in Capricorn to fully take charge of that world, which is in decay. Pluto will, at least starting when it moves forward again in that last segment of direct motion in Capricorn, this will be an extremely constructionally important phase, really laying the infrastructure down for the next whatever many years. This is a powerful finale, you could call. Can look it up when Pluto will turn direct again. Well, I will look it up for you, as not everyone has this beautiful book, The American Ephemeris of the 21st Century. And it says that Pluto will turn direct on October the 11th, and it will enter for good the sign of Aquarius on January the 22nd, 21st, 22nd, right? Okay, so this is totally in line with other alignments too. This is an extremely forward-thinking, but using the substance, the structures which are existing, and redirecting, using it in a whole new way. That's kind of what I see coming. Yeah, I mean, a simple example is any gasoline engine can be converted into a water engine with a very minimal change. Those of you who have not heard of Billy Mayer, Meyer, an American inventor who discovered that particular what do you call that, a chemical reaction, can I say it? And you put an activation substance in to the reaction, which makes it happen much easier. A catalytic agent, right? So he discovered a catalytic agent which allows to split water into hydrogen and oxygen with less energy than they produce when they then interact and become water again, which means hydrogen is burning up together with oxygen two hydrogen atoms, one oxygen atom, they collide, they burn up, explode into energy. That's what then is the free energy, really, at least one of the many angles, expressions of free energy. There's free energy on all levels, period. Anyway, that's another story. But Varuna high up here in this Jupiter Haumea chart, and I mean this, let's now go back to the Mercury chart, because this is really the most central one. So let's look at Venus a little closer. Venus is in a grand square involved, opposing Quaoar and Pholus. Quaoar is that energy which breaks into a new direction and goes through hardship and difficulties, feels the pain of growth. That's kind of what Quaoar is. Pholus is the readiness to go there. It is that final push you need to get off the diving board. If you remember that first time when you did it from the 10 meter or however high you're cliff diving, there's this moment you have to kind of wait for it. It has to arise naturally, and that's where we're at in a much bigger way. These two happen to be in conjunction up to 2060. Okay, that's how long we still have to, on one level or other, to embrace this challenge of going through a difficult growth spur, having to break through layers of restrictions and false ideas and dogmas and beliefs. Yes, you get the idea. And Pholus is taking the brave step into the unknown and saying, let's do it. And Venus now here in this focal point, and then I talked about this in other videos too, but it's really worth repeating as it's here accentuated Makemake and Salasya, a very powerful opposition lasting between 2016 and 2033 for whatever, 30 sometimes. Every year twice they have an exact opposition. They started pretty much their oppositions as they entered pretty much simultaneously Aries and Libra, 2016, 2017 around. And they definitely symbolize that change we have been observing since. Salasya is enjoyment pure. It is where fire and water interact, and water, the lake, fire, the sunlight, where do they interact? On the surface of water. It's the shimmer, the shimmering. It's something extremely fascinating and alive, but it has a playfulness at heart and it's pure enjoyment. So this is that great addition we get from this little planet. Actually, Salasya mythologically is Neptune's wife. I did a whole video or two on that too. You can go back to it. Fascinating how the discovery charts are really showing that energetic connection. How actually Salasya in a way is the one which will help to evolve the Neptunian force. It's as I say in my video there, it is really that nature's law, you could almost say, that a female energy is necessary to truly bring the best out of a man. Anyway, that's, you can polarize it in whichever way. I mean, we are all 49 49 51, that's what I want to say. That's kind of my understanding of gender identity. And yes, the 2% which make the difference, make all the difference. they want us to express that side in a more physical form, which does not mean we have to go and get our whatever body mutilated. If you have that spiritual understanding of being both, then it's and we are. I mean, if you go back through reincarnation therapy or something, which I did when I was young, I had about 40 sessions. I was spending all my money on that. Actually, that was my most important pastime, to learn about where I came from. It's very, very wonderful, mind-blowing and mind-bending. Gave me a totally new understanding of the vastness of who I truly am. And this is naturally true for each and every one of you too. If I would share one little conclusion or essence out of the experiences, that I realized evolution moves like a spiral. You're always coming back to the same positions in the circle, from a new, higher perspective, more refined, more expansive and all-inclusive, in a way you could say. That's kind of what evolution is in a nutshell. So simple truth, and it again, simple truths reflect on so many levels, angles. So anyway, that is Salasya. And then Maki Maki. So yes, they are in opposition since 2016. So Maki Maki is tickling out Salasya, and the other way around even more so. Maki Maki is a very male energy. It's warrior spirit, and that bravery and the readiness to risk your life for receiving that honor, to be in direct connection with the other world, with spirit, really. Maki Maki is a god, and that young man who won that contest of bringing back that first egg, swimming through shark-infested waters to that little island, that first egg in the season, who would then be the chosen one to be the shaman for a year, to be in communication with that deity. So there's some really powerful energy of that in Maki Maki, wherever you have Maki Maki in your chart. Maki Maki takes around 300 years to move around the sun. A Kuiper belt object, non-resonant. Another really important, really little detail of these weirdos or small extra planets. They are not in resonance with the big planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, or more so Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. These are the four heavyweights which kind of are bending the whole structure into becoming the masters, ruling the positions of them all. That's kind of how it feels gravitationally. That's what is the nature of what's called a resonant. They resonate, they come in resonance over millions of years with these larger planets. So the non-resonant feature is super interesting, as it shows a truly independent level of observation. And all these small planets, as they have been found and are continuously found, are literally hidden potentials within each of us, which are being brought into the conscious, being brought into accessibility, and we can use them as the fine-tuning of how we are moving. They give us lots of extra information. So these were the few smaller planets I really wanted to talk about in this chart alone. I guess I leave it at that again. I could go on forever. I guess the last little snippet I want to throw at you is this part of fortune in this Mercury station, laying the ground for how our human experience will be for the next 4 months, in a very simple way said, as I laid out more in part 1. So this is a really powerful, the 12th house collectively of this process. The 12th house is where everything finally ends up in. It's the cosmic pool, and it is in that sense leads back to the beginning. It's the integration, but it's also the hidden, the dark, the unknown, the oceanic, and having the last segment of Aquarius here at the 12th cusp, and Aquarius also here on the 11th cusp. This super interesting tells me that this is a jumping board into something totally wild to come to surface, something unexpected, something out of the left field. That's what it looks to me. And in a way, this is an individual occurrence. Everyone will experience that in a similar way, but with an individual note to it. So naturally there's big events which will be tying into this and which will trigger all these different viewpoints, ways to come to terms and integrate. But it is a super big integration, again, the kind of place we're ending up here after this long dive deep into the investigative process is the 28th degree of Aries, where yes, the performer is confronted with the not so complete and excellent performance he has been giving. So there's a real point of processing through that Moon-Neptune conjunction. Then there is, you see, Moon-Neptune is here in a perfect 30-degree angle. I forgot mentioning that, super important. 30-degree angle is the resonance of companionship, brotherhood. We are standing side by side, we are holding our hands, and we are stronger together. And then the midpoint is the equatorial ascendant. This is always a point to look at, particularly in a mundane chart, where you would experience this moment on the equator. That would be the degree rising, and you see 1247 is exactly at the midpoint of Moon Neptune and the ascendant. So this is a super intuitive process of coming to terms with that darkness. And I would like to read, actually, to end this session, the 28th degree of Pisces from my now 2 books, as they have gone through anyway. Let's read the 28th degree of Pisces. A fertile garden under the full moon reveals a variety of full-grown vegetables. Keynote: the full satisfaction of the individual's basic needs. That's very beautiful. It's very a different tone to what I said about that part in the I Ching, of the deepest place of darkness, where the light is deeply, deeply hidden before it's reborn into 29th degree, 2815 exactly. So there is these little nuances which make it even more interesting to see both from a slightly different viewpoint. and the symbol's keyword is abundance, an abundance of thoughts, an abundance of deceptions, an abundance of ideas, emotions. Water comes into mind too. Water is, when the moon and Neptune is together, water is a theme, and so we have to be very conscious of how we interact and be with water, which is also with our inner water. And naturally, if we are able to have water in our environment, even better, then there is that intuitive bridge. So if you don't, then just go regularly to rivers, sit at the side of a little creek, listen to it, and go to the lake, go to the ocean if you can. So all these water energies, there is transmissions coming in from there, you could say, because water has memory. Water is, which contains all the information of anything and everything, because these water atoms have been around for billions of years, and they are still the same water atoms. Again, brings you more to what I said about the here and now, but now this is all there is. Anyway, last but not least, as I look into my notes, I want to point out another really special feature about this chart of Mercury's station. Sun at 2403 Taurus and Ceres at 2302 in Virgo. 1 minute more than the exact trine, exact 120 degree angle. Extremely beautiful connection. This is where energy flows naturally without any resistance. That's the trine. Everything is balanced, integrated. This Ceres just turned direct a few days ago, actually. You can go back to my Ceres Neptune video, the one where I'm talking about upcoming potential Earth changes. Anyway, there's always more. I will see if, if I'm staying with the chart. That's how it goes. But maybe last, I want to come back to Maki once more here in house 6 with the vertex point close by. Another natural pull we are receiving here from Maki energy as vertex. It's in that direction. Vertex, the point where we're meeting the world in a more ideal sense, not so much in a real sense. Real being the 7th house cusp. That's where it's hard on hard. Okay, that's where the rubber touches the soul, the road. Whereas the vertex is more kind of where you're traveling in your more wholesome encounters with the outer world. What is your spiritual 7th house cusp? That's what you could call it. It's the higher dimensional focus to what we want to face it, because it's a choice. It's always a choice. It's where I'm standing, that's where I'm looking, and it's my choice to face in this direction. That's how it is. And Maki, yes, this is that male energy of taking the risk. It's worth it. Absolutely, 100% with all the support we get. Anyway, I'm super excited as usual, as you can see, despite all the dark stuff which is happening and in my life too. But it's the way it goes. It's touching us all personally. It is, I guess, the the magic is, the blessing is to stand above all that mundane stuff and see that as the noise, the necessary noise to make the real stuff happening, which is the internal evolution of us all in synchronicity, coming back together as one, as I laid out in my Venus video, particularly Venus being super, super important in our present time. I can't underline that more than I have already. Turning stationary retrograde on July the 23rd, again a 23rd. Yes, there's many interesting happenings on the 23rd this year. So think ahead, maybe there's something really interesting coming up on May 23rd. I would guess so. I already looked a little bit ahead. So I leave it at that, leave you as a teaser, and thank you again for joining, listening, and love you all. See you soon.